Hello, everybody. For Bobcat Update, I'm Hector Montemayor Perez. Today, I'm going to give you a special newscast from my very own home. As we survive through the pandemic and the coronavirus procedures and everything that's going on in this crazy life, I hope you're staying safe. And I know that my classmates worked very hard to give you this upcoming newscast remotely. Starting with Ethan Hunt's story, which highlights the unemployment and the tribulations that the economy is going to face due to the coronavirus. Take it away, Ethan.
Graduating from college under normal circumstances can be a particularly stressful time for seniors, and with the arrival of COVID-19, seniors are seeing their once surefire opportunities vanish. Senior Dana Lowe talks about the effect it's had on her.
Well, it's been a little bit difficult just because obviously a lot of options have been taken away, but I'm managing.
College students now have to compete in a market filled with many more experienced professionals who are unemployed as well. Despite this, some students still have confidence.
With my skill set, my personal skill set, to get a job after all this, I feel comfortable because I believe that hiring will continue.
With no end to COVID-19 in sight, students are left to wonder if they'll have the chance to work after graduation. For Bobcat Update, I'm Ethan Hunt.
Due to the coronavirus outbreak, many local and chain restaurants have had to close their inside dining areas to prevent the spread of the disease. Now, the only way to get food from most restaurants is either from delivery service apps or takeout. Bobcat Update's Christian News looks at how restaurants are conducting business these days.
Texas State student and to-go waitress Alana Bouvier says there are several new precautions her workplace enforces to keep both the food and the customers safe.
We don't allow anyone in our restaurant anymore. We have everything. We take all of the payments over the phone unless it's cash. And the people who take the food out wear masks and gloves. Everyone inside is constantly sanitizing. Everyone who's handling food is wearing gloves. And some people do wear masks around the restaurant, but we definitely have taken sanitation on a whole nother level.
Bouvier says restaurants have had an increase in to-go and curbside orders since they stopped serving meals in their dining areas.
We, on to-goes, usually before this whole thing happened, I would probably sell on a crazy day, on Valentine's Day, I think I did 1,800 in a night, and now it's we did 20 grand on Friday night. So that's a big jump.
Economists are forecasting that the American restaurant industry could lose up to $225 billion in revenue from closures caused by the coronavirus outbreak. For Bobcat Update, I'm Christian News.
Students across the nation are now taking their classes online for the rest of the semester because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and student workers at Texas State find themselves having to beat a new learning curve. Bobcat Update Sammy Dugdale has the story.
On March 19th, the university sent a campus-wide email announcing that classes would be moved to remote delivery following spring break. This meant a quick transition for student workers who rely on campus resources to do their jobs. Texas State supplemental instructor Parker Brockman says he's working longer hours than before, but is confident in his ability to teach the rest of the semester.
They trained me pretty well. We spent about 8 hours or so in training on the second week of spring break, so I feel pretty prepared for all of the things that Zoom is throwing at me.
Zoom's the video conferencing website that the university has chosen to deliver classes online. Student workers, such as supplemental instructors and teaching assistants, are expected to become well acquainted with Zoom's features. Supplemental instructor Elizabeth Hawley says that having her sessions on Zoom is a different approach, but she appreciates the technology.
Now they can do them whenever they want. They can pace them out over several days. They can pause and unpause lecture, which is something that you cannot do in person. So some people are adjusting well.
Remote delivery for Texas State courses has now been extended through Summer 1 session. For Bobcat Update, I'm Sammy Dugdale.
No face-to-face classes or labs are being conducted at Texas State now to minimize the chances of spreading the coronavirus. But the university remains open with a skeletal crew of office and custodial staff. Bobcat Update's Cameron Hubbard reports on policy changes affecting personnel while responding to the threat posed by COVID-19.
Departments on campus are giving staff members the option to come into work 2 days through the week and work remotely for the other 3 days. Staff members are focusing on critical functions in the workplace instead of carrying business as usual.
To get to work on time, I would usually have to leave by 6:45, maybe 6:15 in the morning, and now I just kind of roll out of bed, and so I've noticed myself getting up later and later in the day.
The stay-at-home work-safe order is effective through at least May 30th.
I was used to socially interacting with a whole bunch of students and staff every day, so not seeing people and interacting with them has been the hardest transition for me.
Texas State employees with dependents at home are eligible for extended paid leave to care for them during the crisis. Policies are described on the university's website, which has links to pertinent information. For Bobcat Update, I'm Cameron Hubbard.
School systems nationwide have shut down, affecting the students who are being taught. Here in Central Texas, teachers have taken to providing instruction online. We take a look now at this development from 3 different angles. Ahead are reports from Arlette Ramirez, Sammy Turner, and Constance Bradley. We begin with what's happening in San Marcos. Here's Constance Bradley.
The school system has decided to keep all of its schools closed until at least early May. De Zavala second grade teacher Lauren Zaninga says she's concerned that some of her students might not be able to advance to the 3rd grade at the end of the school year.
It's been kind of hard because my second graders personally, they might not be going to 3rd grade knowing things like multiplication, division, area, stuff like that because of where everything stopped at this point in the year.
Zaninga also says that she has been teaching parents as well as the students.
And what it's become is I've become tech support instead of a teacher, and I'm having to answer questions on my conference times about what things to click on, how to do what, and everybody's just having to learn, become tech savvy.
Student teacher Anise Johnson says that COVID-19 has stopped her from getting hands-on experience with her student teaching.
We're sticking towards online teaching now, but it kind of doesn't really matter because a lot of kids don't have access to Wi-Fi, to internet, laptops.
Please visit the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District's website for more school information regarding COVID-19 updates. And remember, we're all in this together. For Bobcat Update, I'm Constance Bradley.
Switching to online teaching presents teachers with unique challenges. 3rd grade teacher Jennifer Turner says one of the biggest struggles is making sure students have access to technology.
Just being able to get them to connect, to sign on with us, to help them, even their families manage the digital world. But I know that our district has done a really great job about trying to get devices out to students who don't have. We're trying to at least get it to where there's at least 1 device per household.
Turner says not being around her students has taken a toll on her emotionally.
We left on spring break, so we had an additional week that we weren't with our kids. And so just that thought of not seeing them again this year, it has been helped that I get to actually physically, see them with the Zoom meetings. That definitely has helped them, and it has helped us.
Turner says that a lot of what is being done in her school district is to help students retain what they've already learned.
More of our focus right now is how can we keep these kids from sliding back too much during this time off.
Despite the situation, Turner remains hopeful.
I'm thinking that from here forward, we're going to have easier access and easier buy-in with our parents as well as our students. So I definitely think there's some good that will come out of all this. Whatever we're doing is enough. Everyone is doing the best they can in difficult situations. And whatever it is that you're able to do, it's enough because it has to be.
Some school districts still plan to reopen to finish the school year in person, but it remains uncertain whether that will be possible. For Bobcat Update, I'm Sammy Turner.
All New Braunfels ISD students from kindergarten to 12th grade have district-issued iPads they can use to connect with their teachers as well as complete their assignments. Amber Ramirez is a teacher in the system. She now meets online with her 6th grade students and is also homeschooling her own children.
We've been doing digital platforms, Google Classroom, Canvas, iTunes U, for several years now. So luckily, really the biggest thing that's changed is physically just not being in the classroom.
Her oldest child, Tess, a kindergartner, is using online platforms and resources that Ramirez has found.
They already have their digital platform as well, so we continue doing the different things that her kindergarten teacher sends home, or sends through the system, I guess, as well as I've printed off a few different kindergarten resources and just continuing to work on those basics.
Ramirez says with students not being able to attend class, it's easy for them to forget about the material they have learned during the school year.
They say that even over summer, so many kids lose so much of what they've learned because they aren't in that stimulated environment consistently.
Schools across Texas are expected to stay closed until at least May 4th. For Bobcat Update, I'm Arlette Ramirez.
Bobcat Update's Constance Brandley is joining us now, whose report is one of the three that you just saw. Constance, do you believe the students are prepared to transition online?
No, I do not think that students are prepared, just because there are a lot of families in the San Marcos area who do not have Wi-Fi. And so those families are having to pick up paper packets from the elementary schools, which can be a problem because a lot of students are probably going to be ahead of those who do have the technology to advance forward than those who don't. So.
Well, thank you for that update, Constance. After the break, we will examine how COVID-19 has an impact on our health.
KTSW isn't just a radio station. It's everything that happens on the other side. For over 27 years, KTSW has allowed Texas State students to work together to gain real-world experience through volunteer and paid positions. At KTSW, students are able to flourish creatively by creating content for social media, shooting live in-studio performances, producing original web content, finding friendships along the way, and much more. KTSW is able to bring Texas State students together to find who they are and what they love to do. You think radio's dead? Well, you've never known a radio station like this. To join or to learn more about KTSW, go to ktsw.net.
While the coronavirus pandemic is forcing many aspects of life to be put on hold, the real estate market in Texas continues on. Realtors are adjusting to the situation and implementing social distancing practices. Bobcat Update's Pierce O'Neill has a story.
After being declared essential workers, realtors are continuing to work with clients in order to assist with the buying and selling of houses. However, in order to practice safe social distancing, most real estate offices have been closed to the public, which means business must be conducted remotely. Realtor Tyler Hindmarsh says virtual tours are the preferred method, but in-person showings are allowed under certain circumstances and after precautions are taken.
Go around and turn all the lights on themselves, leave everything unlocked and open themselves, and then leave the house. So that way, whenever me and a client come by, we don't have to touch light switches, we don't have to unlock doors.
With face-to-face meetings being limited, realtors are forced to make use of different online services. Andrea O'Neill says she is making her own videos from home and using social media to keep in touch with her clients.
We are encouraged to use social media much more. We're encouraged to make our own videos as often as possible and put them out there. Let them know that we are here to help.
Despite the safety concern associated with the coronavirus, realtors say they haven't noticed a huge decline in sales. With historically low interest rates, people are still buying and selling. For Bobcat Update, I'm Pierce O'Neill.
Bobcat Update's Andrew Zimmel joins me now to talk about his story on apartment complexes and the difficulty they might be facing due to coronavirus. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing good, Hector, safe and healthy. San Marcos, as you know, has a bunch of new high-rises coming up, new apartment complexes. But, it's tough with the coronavirus and the uncertainty with Texas State if there is going to be a fall semester on campus. So a lot of people are really wondering and worrying if these units are going to get filled.
All righty, that's Andrew Zimmel, and here we are with his story coming up now.
Texas State expects an enrollment drop in the months ahead as potential students decide to postpone their college plans. If that happens, apartment complexes in San Marcos will also see fewer units occupied in the fall. Many apartment locators are feeling it too.
We've had fewer walk-ins, so less foot traffic. We've had calls and about the same, web leads.
Many leases begin in August and go until the following July, but the coronavirus may influence some students to stay at home with their parents and save money.
Because that's thousands of dollars that I could save just by staying home and being with my mom rather than being here, because there's never really a reason to be here.
For this story, I reached out to many apartment complexes in the San Marcos area, with all declined to comment, all waiting for the leasing cycle to be up. If COVID-19 stretches into the fall, there could be major problems for complexes in San Marcos. For Bobcat Update, I'm Andrew Zimmel.
Apartments are often shared with roommates, and that means placing trust in how they take care not to spread the coronavirus. In this report, Melvin Ayala finds a need for patience and understanding.
Although Texas State University is no longer housing students, many are living with roommates in various apartment complexes in San Marcos. One reason for students to stay in the city is to keep their jobs, especially during a time when unemployment is increasing. Others have decided staying in San Marcos is safer than going anywhere else. Catherine McKinney has 2 roommates, and they're all trying to maintain a clean and safe living environment.
So I'm mostly cleaning the kitchen and stuff like every day. Wiping down countertops is like a constant thing, cleaning doorknobs, just keeping it mostly clean. I mean, I do it a lot, but that's okay.
Roommates continue to social distance, even with everyone home. Things like staying in their rooms and taking turns in using the kitchen are ways students keep a safe living environment.
For the most part, I mean, we just kind of do what we do. Like, we all cook at different times. So, I mean, and, you know, we're all kind of like are in the common area at different times. And even if we're in the common area together, like, it doesn't really like change anything for the most part.
Student resident Celeste Edmondson and her one roommate both limit the need to leave their apartments if it's not for work. She believes this is the biggest change for her way of living.
I'm usually never home, like during school and with work and like my organization, I wouldn't get home till like 11.
Luckily for these 2 students in different households, both have roommates who are all conscientious about these precautions. Having preventative measures and social distancing are the trends for these Texas State students. For Bobcat Update, I'm Melvin Ayala.
Gyms across Texas are closed now due to the coronavirus pandemic, which means a lot of people are finding other ways to stay fit. Bobcat Update's Mercedes Atkinson has a story.
In an effort to stop the spread of the coronavirus, Texas Governor Greg Abbott last month signed an executive order that closed all non-essential businesses. The order includes many restaurants, retail stores, and gyms. Without access to gyms, staying fit is more of a challenge. Andrea Garza says she set aside a specific area for her workout space, and it has helped keep her motivated.
And I feel like anyone who's struggling to work out, who used to work out, should probably do the same, like find a space in your house and dedicate that as like your gym area.
Social media specialist Alix Aspa says it's important to take advantage of online tools during this time.
You have to take advantage of people and instructors who are giving classes, so you can take that. And also Zoom. I think Zoom has become one of the most important tools during this time.
Some Texas parks remain open to the public for those who want to exercise, as long as social distancing guidelines are followed.
And if you're able to go out for a walk at least once a day and social distance yourself from others, I think that's also a good way to keep yourself active and also to like take a breather of all the intense things we are going through.
It remains uncertain when gyms will be allowed to reopen. For Bobcat Update, I'm Mercedes Atkinson.
The death toll caused by COVID-19 continues to rise in Texas and nationwide. Most hospitals and clinics in Dallas are hot zones. Bobcat Update's Michael Henley has the story.
Nurses and doctors are having to be more cautious than usual. This is a critical time in their lives and the lives of their patients.
One of the things we've moved toward is doing a lot of telemedicine visits to try to keep those patients out of waiting rooms and out of public areas where they could potentially come into contact with coronavirus. And we found that that's actually been pretty nice for the patients. It saves them time and for us as well.
Since the outbreak of coronavirus, healthcare providers have changed their everyday methods to deliver care to vulnerable populations.
Changed everything. For one thing, all of our elective cases in the cath lab have gone out the window. We're doing only emergency cases, and even those are now subject to some sort of screening, because if they're COVID, we may change our process, even though we are a chest pain center with a door to balloon time of less than 90 minutes.
Administrators of healthcare organizations are facing unprecedented challenges to make sure their patients and staff stay safe. Many frontline personnel are in potential danger when they respond to 911 calls because of the COVID-19 virus may be lurking.
We're still transporting our major chest pain, shortness of breath, respiratory illness patients right now, but things, like coughing, sore throat, things of that sort. We're really refraining from that.
To minimize your own risk, please remember to heed the warnings of healthcare officials. Stay at home, maintain social distance, and wash your hands frequently. For Bobcat Update, I'm Michael Henley.
During the coronavirus pandemic, some pharmacies in Texas are experiencing certain drug shortages. Bobcat Update's Krista Andrews has the story.
President Trump has advocated use of hydroxychloroquine, a drug traditionally used to treat malaria and lupus, as a treatment option for COVID-19 patients. However, according to the Food and Drug Administration, the drug is now in short supply and unproven as an effective treatment for COVID-19. Pharmacist Dustin Andrews says the Texas Board of Pharmacy has issued procedures to help prevent hydroxychloroquine shortages in the state.
You're not to give anyone more than a 14-day supply. You're supposed to try and get diagnosis codes wherever you can to make sure that this is for legitimate, established use of the drug.
Despite the new guidelines, some worry that the president's comments could still affect the drug's availability. Texas State professor Cassandra LeClaire is diagnosed with lupus and has been prescribed hydroxychloroquine since 2011.
You have a huge group of people who really rely on this medicine. So then to see a headline saying like, just take it, what's it going to hurt? Or some of those kinds of things, it's just like, it's really been hard for me to wrap my head around some of the things I've seen.
To help meet the increased demand for the drug, the FDA has issued an emergency use authorization, allowing states to distribute millions of hydroxychloroquine doses that were stockpiled by pharmaceutical companies. For Bobcat Update, I'm Krista Andrews.
The death toll from COVID-19 is still climbing, and many San Martians are worried about how the virus will affect them. Bobcat Update's Emily Martin sat down with a woman who has heightened concerns because she has a pre-existing condition, an autoimmune disease.
While COVID-19 has affected everyday life for many people, those with an underlying condition are feeling the stress just a little bit more. Texas State University student Madison Cooper has been living with rheumatoid arthritis since 2016.
So normally that affects me when I have flare-ups. It can get so bad like I can't move, I can't get up out of bed in the morning, can't go to class or work or anything.
After the FDA advised that anti-inflammatory drugs could worsen the coronavirus, Cooper's doctors told her to stop taking them.
Those medicines, if you take them for long enough, consistently, they can put your disease into remission. So I've been taking those medicines consistently for like 3 years now. And now that I'm not taking them anymore, that basically took away any chance of my disease going into remission anytime soon.
Her doctors even warned her that masks won't do her any good.
Once it's in the air, I'm pretty much going to get it. So I'm worried about being in contact with other people in the grocery stores, but there's really not much that the government or anyone has done to make it so that I won't get it.
Cooper says that if she wants help, she has to reach out for it because no one has tried to reach out to her.
I hope that there will just be a solid plan by the government to protect people that are at risk, because now it doesn't really seem to be that much of a priority.
Cooper says she will continue to stay inside and rely on the help of others to get the items she needs. For Bobcat Update, I'm Emily Martin.
Bobcat Update's Emily Martin joins us here. You just saw her report. Emily, how are you and your friend doing?
We're doing really good. We're taking everything one day at a time. I've been going to the grocery store and making sure I'm wiping everything down. But as far as Madison, she's a trooper, so she's okay. She's managing her pain very well.
Well, that's really good to hear. After the break, we'll look at how relationships are affected by the pandemic. Bobcat Update will return after this.
For over 20 years, the Calaboose Museum has been teaching the community of San Marcos about its rich African-American history. Founded by Johnny Armstead, the museum is a great place for people who are curious to learn more about the history of San Marcos and the significant events and people who shaped the area. Learn about Lucas Jackson, the former Olympic gold medalist and NBA All-Star, or Eddie Durham, the jazz musician and pioneer of his industry, both born and raised in San Marcos. Or learn about the role of African Americans played in conflict. Read about Buffalo Soldiers, the Tuskegee Airmen, and the roles African Americans played in World War II. Or about the role San Marcos played in the Civil Rights Movement. Read about which leaders had the biggest impact in the fight for justice, and see the robes of the Klan members who opposed them. The Calaboose Museum, located on 200 West Martin Luther King Drive. Calaboose Museum, open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
or by appointment.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, May's commencement ceremony at Texas State has been rescheduled to take place August 6th and 8th to coincide with summer commencement. Vanity Johnson has a story.
Many students are affected by the postponement. Senior Carl Beard says his plans are being changed.
A lot of stuff that I had planned is just pushed back. Just a lot of job opportunities that I thought I would have is pushed back, so I don't know what it's going to be like when I do graduate in August.
While some students struggle to adapt to the changes, they feel empathy for first-generation students who want to share the milestone.
My parents are college educated, so I was always expected to go to college. All my siblings have graduated from college, so even though I wanted that experience for myself, it's not like a milestone in my family like it is for a lot of other people.
Commencement announcer Dan Schumacher says the university had to make the difficult decision to reschedule the May commencement.
The administration was left with no choice. You can't have 7,000 people gather in Strand Coliseum in May of this year because it would be hazardous.
Students who had planned to move to other states or countries after graduation may face a difficult decision of whether to return and walk the stage this August. For Bobcat Update, I'm Vanity Johnson.
With the coronavirus shutting down music venues and limiting social gatherings, performing artists are facing financial hardships and turning to new avenues to share their music. Bobcat Update's Ryan Huntington has the story.
As the live music capital of the world, Austin has been hit particularly hard by the shelter-in-place ordinance. Music venues and bars have boarded up their windows with no clear time frame of when they will be able to reopen.
Obviously, everything got canceled. Very unfortunate for us artists out here.
Although these times have been difficult for musicians, many performing artists have turned to digital platforms to share their music. From big-name DJs to local acts, live streaming has become the new medium for artists to connect with their audiences.
You know, everyone's getting a lot more tech savvy nowadays. So with everyone getting more familiar with it, people are definitely going to be putting their stuff out there more.
If you want to help support local artists, you can donate directly through live streaming services like Twitch, or you can go to www.austincf.org. For Bobcat Update, I'm Ryan Huntington.
The coronavirus pandemic has resulted in countless public and social events being canceled. Normal routines are on hold for the foreseeable future, including eating out, going to the gym, and even maintaining personal relationships. Bobcat Update's Leslie Lopez tells us how social distancing affects the dating scene.
For many students, the chances of meeting someone new during this crisis are very low. Texas State student Genesis Sandoval says dating has definitely become a challenge for her.
Before Corona, I was giving dating sites a try, and so I can no longer go on dates because everything's shut down.
For others, maintaining a long-distance relationship is nothing new.
We do like to FaceTime. I think we FaceTime pretty much every day just to check up on each other. How are you doing? What are you going to do today? You know, kind of those general questions you want to ask somebody.
While not hopeless, relationships now require much more patience and effort during our time in self-isolation. For Bobcat Update, I'm Leslie Lopez.
As COVID-19 continues to spread across the United States, Texas State students have adapted to learning from afar. One student is taking the term far to a whole new level. Bobcat Update's Jake Norrie traveled to San Francisco for spring break, and he's still there. Jake files this report from the West Coast.
The usual bustling streets of downtown San Francisco have gone silent as millions in the metropolitan area adhere to shelter-in-place orders. These orders, along with social distancing guidelines, were implemented to help slow the spread of COVID-19. Being in such a hotspot for the virus hasn't been easy. San Francisco resident Joey Vaughn says routine things like going to the grocery store or getting prescriptions are some of the hardest tasks.
I used to go to the grocery store almost every day on the way home from work, just grab the fresh produce I needed or whatever. We go to the grocery store about once a week now, and it's quite a different experience. You have to wear a face mask in public now. Most folks are wearing gloves. There's long lines in front of the grocery store. I think I waited about an hour just to get inside Trader Joe's the other day.
Hair Club area manager Mary Nethercutt has a job that depends on person-to-person contact, so she definitely feels the impacts of working remotely.
My role and everyone else that I oversee that works in our centers, we have client-facing roles to where every interaction, 90% of it is client-to-client interactions in person. So finding ways to not only communicate effectively with our client base as well as provide support for them has been, I would say, the biggest challenge.
What started out as a normal spring break trip to San Francisco, California, turned into a near 2-month-long shelter-in-place period. Now, cooped up inside this apartment, 3 of us live day by day, hoping the precautionary measures pay off and I can soon return back to the Lone Star State. For Bobcat Update, I'm Jake Norrie.
This last report comes from somewhere near and dear to my heart, my very own hometown of Presidio, Texas. I came here for spring break, and after classes moved online, I did a story to show you, the rest of the world, how we're dealing with the pandemic. Presidio, Texas is used to being isolated from the rest of the world. Although the coronavirus's reach hasn't made it through these arid mountains, this border town is remaining vigilant in the fight against COVID-19.
What I'm really impressed with about Presidio is just, again, how our community has responded. I think people are genuinely concerned about their children, about the elderly. And so, they've taken these things to heart.
Mayor John Ferguson says Presidio residents are taking precautions to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The mayor says businesses in town have stepped up to keep the community safe.
But, the stores they're not static. And they've done a pretty good job of kind of taking care of themselves and customers.
Most who take the long drive to this border town come to visit family. Texas State sophomore Amber Adamandades has stayed in town since spring break. Amber says she feels safer in Presidio.
In Presidio, you don't go out as much as is, you're not gonna go to a bar or go to a restaurant. There's a lot of people. So I think just the social distancing, I wouldn't say we're obviously on top of each other. Like New York, how they're on top of each other. You can't walk by people in the street without being within 6 feet of them. Whereas in Presidio, it's very spaced out. There's not that many people. There's not that many big crowds,
The fight against COVID-19 is far from over. Mayor Ferguson says it remains a possibility that someone in town could be tested positive for the disease. In the meantime, the community will do what it can to keep everyone safe.
But right now, let's keep protecting this like we would just take care of something very cherished, and keep doing the right kinds of things to keep this disease from transmitting it throughout town.
That concludes today's special edition of Bobcat Update, recorded from my very own home. Special thanks to all of my classmates who did packages and joined us on today's newscast. Stay safe out there, stay inside, and we'll all get through this moment in history in due time. This is Hector Montemayor Perez, filing the last report of the semester for Bobcat Update.